Awesome.
Can you just talk about the depth situation at defensive? It looks like you got three good ones with Cameron and Lawrence and Thaddeus. Can you talk about who maybe might be stepping up to the number 4, number 5 defensive end, and just talk about that?
You know, Cameron's a defensive end. You know, in our base stuff, and Lawrence is the other defensive end in our base. If we're playing base defense, 2 back sets. You know, we've been looking at Cameron moving inside a little bit in nickel, and bringing Thaddeus in on the edge. You know, Keith Wells, you know, a couple of those freshmen are, you know, looking good, but it's just too early to tell as far as whether they can pick it up mentally or not. But they've got good ability. Solomon Thomas seems to have having a good spring. You know, we haven't got fall. We haven't gotten real far yet in the scheme of things, but you know, Solomon looks pretty good. You know, Mark Johnson's in there battling. We got, you know, I think we got candidates, and then I think we got 2 good young freshmen that are going to probably battle everybody. But it's going to be good competition. It's going to be interesting to see.
Do you feel good about the depth there?
Yeah.
The idea with Cameron coming in, I mean, moving inside, I mean, I'm trying to remember, did y'all do that much? Did y'all do that with him last year? Or?
No, we've never done it with him.
Yeah.
It was being his first year. We just kind of, we did it with Kenny Peterson and Darian Scott, and we've done it a lot over the years, but we didn't do it with Cameron just because he was a first-year freshman.
What does he offer you now? I mean, what does he offer you in that kind of like setup? I mean,
well, I guess, really what it does, it gives us a chance to get maybe a little faster guy on the edge. And then when he goes down inside, it puts a little bit faster guy inside. So probably it picks up the speed on both spots a little bit, with him down in there. And, like I said, we're just kind of experimenting with it and see how he does with it. But, right now he's starting it in. But, all those guys were kind of, Doug Worthington's another guy we're kind of experimenting with and looking at inside. And, he's a big, long-armed guy that can maybe play outside also. So, really what we're kind of trying to find is the best 8 and then maybe zero in on where they fit the best.
Are you with Doug? Are you counting on him being with you the first game? I mean, how are you kind of approaching that from your aspect?
Totally honest, I'm not sure. I know he's going through a lot of the process right now as far as things he has to do. He's not running with the ones, and and to be honest with you, no one's told me. I don't know.
What the
I
deal
don't know
is.
if we're going to have him or not. So we're preparing as though we're working him. He's getting a lot of work, but I'm not really certain.
On the big,
I'm not sure when I will be.
On the Big Ten Network show the other night, it looked like you had Larimore. Did you have Larimore and Todd running with the first?
Really, what I'm doing is every day I'm changing them. Between Dexter's had a really good fall. He's about 310, 315 now, so he's had a really good fall. Todd's consistently good. Nader's better than he was a year ago. He's much better than he was, and Doug is really playing well. So it's 4 inside guys. I'm just every day there's a different starter, and just kind of keeping the competition going and seeing who ends up being. They're all 4 going to play. I mean, especially early, especially with all the no huddle and all this stuff.
What about Goebel? Is he?
Goebel's going to be a really good player. He's really impressive as a freshman and a state wrestling champ. He's one of those guys you like. He stays on his feet, and whether he can crack into the depth. It'll be. Really, I doubt it, to be honest with you. But he's going down the road to be I think he's really going to be special.
At this stage of camp, now you're getting into 2-a-days, hitting for a little bit. How does the dynamic change? What do you look for from the guys at this stage?
The thing I like, was looking for today. We had two-a-days yesterday, so that's always kind of the first day of 2-a-days gets a little, wears a little bit on you, and then you got to come back this morning and practice. So it was interesting to me to see if they'd fight through. It was a little bit warm out there on the turf, not bad. It's really not probably warm enough, but just seeing if they fight through it and see what their attitude is. It's easy to have a great attitude early, and you're all fresh and frisky and running around. And as we go through, I think we've got to be consistent in what our approach is, trying to be good every day, and not take any steps backwards.
Where would you compare Lawrence to where he was last year at this time to now in his recovery process?
He's a better player than he was a year ago. He really is. He's a smarter player than he was a year ago. He's a more mature player than he was a year ago. I think he has a better understanding of the offenses that we're seeing. And but he just, he's really focused in. He's really locked in. And I think maybe sitting out a year makes you realize how lucky you are to be playing. And he's really, he hasn't had a bad day of practice. He's working extremely hard. Extra film study, extra, studying his playbook and the whole deal.
So you're expecting big things?
Yeah, I think he's gonna have a good year, I really do.
Jim, how much do you pay attention? You know, it was kind of like hit the wires the other day. Mark Sanchez, you know, the starting quarterback from USC, got or dislocated kneecap and stuff. And do you how much do you pay attention to that stuff? Just
We do an awful lot, really. I mean, we you know, we have student coaches that you know try and keep track of personnel. We want to make sure we keep track and our players know what the personnel of the other, really not just SC, but every opponent. You know, we're watching every day at Youngstown, and you know, it's important. We know what if there's any injuries, you know, what the depth looks like, who's looking good, who's looking bad. But we're aware of that, and you know, obviously it doesn't mean anything right now. It's a long way before we play, but you know, we certainly were aware of it, and our student coaches were.
Yeah.
They were.
but
Couldn't wait to get to us and tell us with it.
yeah, as a coach
They're
though,
good student coaches.
as a coach though, when you hear that a guy like a quarterback has got to miss maybe 1 or 2 weeks or more of preseason practice, I mean, what does that tell you about maybe his development, or you know what I mean? Is it?
Shoot.
I mean, I know I'm getting in your brain a little bit there, but how do you factor that in? I guess
I don't.
You don't?
No,
Yeah,
I don't.
that's what I figured.
No problems.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're just really trying to focus. That's and that's our whole mentality right now. Focus on ourselves and not get too concerned with the outside.
Jim, is that a unique situation that you're in, that you have so much depth that you can put guys in different places and see how they work out, that you may have them inside, but they may be natural outside? Is that a unique problem to have?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good problem, and you know, those guys kind of struggle through. You know, a year ago we had lost, you know, Dave Patterson and Quinn and Joel Penton, our 3 inside guys. So all of a sudden last year, you know, we had some young guys thrown in there with Dex and Todd Demlinger, you know, for the first time, and even Nader, who lost a bunch of weight and got to play. So those guys were young, and we played a lot of them, and you know, tried to get as many of them. Got Doug in there; he'd come off a broken leg, and got him in there. And then of course, you know, when Lawrence got hurt, then we put Rob Rose in there, and then he got hurt. So we ended up playing a freshman there. So we had some, you know, they were young and they went through some growing pains last year. But, you know, I think that's the reason we do have the depth. We had to play a lot of guys last year due to some injuries, and had to throw some young guys in there, and they took their lumps at times and did really well at times. But you know, I think now those guys are a little bit more experienced, and we can expect a little more out of them, and they're just giving great effort. And, you know, I'm really happy with that group.
How much do you look forward to, and how valuable is Saturday when you get these guys scrimmaging, especially the young guys? You talked about a lot of the freshmen making an impact.
I think for us, the valuable thing for me is to find out who your top 22, 25 players are. So I think to me it's great to get everybody who's going to get 30, 40, 50 reps or whatever, depending on how long Coach Tress wants to go. But they're going to get a lot of reps. We can grade them at the end of that game. We can say, here's the 4 best, here's the next best, and we kind of get our depth a little bit better and really identify who we can start to work with now to prepare for the season.
Do you feel like you can push these guys more with all the experience and the expectation that they have, that you can feel you can press a little harder?
To this point, I haven't had to. To this point, the leadership of really the whole defense, has been good, and then we've gotten some good leadership out of our defensive line, and I think those guys are interested in being good. And I've been very, I don't have to really say a whole bunch. They do a good job of, they're in there early, they're ready to go, they're anxious to get out on the field, they work hard when they're out there. I have no complaints, and really haven't had to do anything, to be honest with you, from a motivational standpoint. They come to work every day.
Since you brought up
Thaddeus, how much is Thaddeus sort of maybe just a pass rusher at this point? How close is he being a complete?
Well, I think, obviously that's, it's a strength. His strength is being a pass rusher, and that's obviously what we're going to utilize him for, but he's got to become a better run defender, and that's what he's working on. And I think he's gotten better over the last 4 or 5 days, but he's got to make improvement where he can play over tight end and give us something on the run also.
I'm trying to remember, did you mention Rob Rose a while ago when you were talking about ends? I mean,
I don't know if I did or not. Rob's kind of like Cam. He's playing end, and then we're also putting him down inside and looking at him with a 3 technique a little bit too. And he's coming off 2 shoulder surgeries. And,
right.
It's always takes a little time to get confidence. You can still see him kind of protecting his shoulders a little bit. But he had a good practice today, very dominant out there, and I guess noticeable. He was making some plays, and he's really trying hard, and he wants to get back in there. But he's another guy that you got to throw in the mix as far as defensive end. Really, right now he's backing up Cam at defensive end, so he's already he's in the depth, and we're just looking at him inside a little bit too.